Hello everybody and welcome back once again for another broadcast for League Zero. We're here at round 2 here at Silverstone for, not for the British Grand Prix, but for the race here in the SF Super Formulas for League Zero, the Legacy Edition. It was the British Grand Prix for back in 2008, I believe, as it says this layout is for 2008. Silverstone Grand Prix, and we are here for it. It was a great round 1 race at VIR. It was none other than Elliott winning that race, and now we're currently following up with Nick. We're going to try and catch up with our race winner ahead, who's going to be just out there, and that's going to be him, Elliott, just going around. I think we'll try and get up to him when we are in that qualifying session. Just getting started now here at Silverstone. Robert there trying to do a lap and go around the circuit, and all these drivers get us going into the qualifying session. Of course, same format it's going to be. 15 minutes of the qualifying session, then we go into the sprint race, and then 15 minutes of that. After that, the top 5 is inverted into the 40-minute feature race. So let's get going now. And there we go, we are into the qualifying session now. All 15 laps, it's going to be, of course, 15 minutes, depending on how many laps the drivers get to go around the circuit for. But we will be going on now, as we have drivers already out on the circuit for not only racing, but for the qualifying session, and get us going here around Silverstone in the 15-minute qualifying session, which of course is going to get us the grid ready for the sprint race. We are looking for anybody who's closer to that finish line, actually. So let's try and have a look at that. Anybody that's going to be closer to that finish line, it is going to be this man, the car number 43. It's not going to be 43, actually. It should be the 33. It is going to be the car number 33 here on our screens to get us going. It's going to be Colloway for the starting of the flying lap, I believe, as it's the Legacy Edition. This is where the grids get started. This is where the laps get started. And let's go for the beginning of the first driver who's out for a flying lap. It's going to be none other than Colloway to give us and get us going for a lap here around Silverstone. Jaden currently says P2 for him, but obviously that's no laps for any other driver at this moment in time. The driver number 37, then it's going to be right behind him will be the 43 of Richard, but he's going to be the very first one to complete a lap. He's just making his way now from turn 6 into turn 7, just through over the hanger straight into Store Corner. Just going to be now making his way not around the final few corners. I was about to say that, since the actual and the current version of Silverstone this is where they get started, their laps get started, but there is nothing around that part of the circuit at this point in time. But let's get going, as these drivers are now making their way. Of course, that might have not been that part. This one's very different layout from the previous one. So this is going to be our very first driver setting up purple sectors at this moment in time. The car number 37, but how quickest or how good he's going to be able to do, as he's just about to show us what he's going to be capable of around the final few corners. Now he's got to navigate. He's got through 15. He's got his way to go through 16 and 17th now, just into the main start-finish straight, and across that finish line. That's going to be 126.27293. And that's going to be P2 for him, as drivers follow 127. And that's Elliott in P 127.3. He's having spins around. He's having a spin. We just went quiet for a moment as we were navigating through these drivers, but that was a spin for Elliott out there, and he's just does a 360 to navigate around. But the drivers now getting their lap times around and having a time on board, and except for Xavier, who doesn't have a time on board, but Shaji does. He got a 128.8 at this moment. And what about Gareth? He's 127.6. What about Kyle then? He hasn't got a time on board. He's making his way around the circuit, but not yet successful. What about Leo then? We haven't got his livery loaded up. Not sure why. Maybe that's what he just runs. What about Felipe then? Some of these drivers not having their liveries ready. But Jaden's time still is the quickest and the fastest. The car number 37. Nobody able to go any quicker than him. Will we see him go faster? But I don't think he will be trying to go faster at this moment in time. Does he? He does not pit. Will he be improving? Sure, that would have been his outlap. But maybe he's tried to go 2 in a row. And yes, he has. He's going to go even more quicker. 126.083. He's going to go even more quicker and secure his pole position for himself so far. What about anybody else? Anybody else or any closer to him? What about Richard, who's in 6th place at this moment? All of these drivers now just going again and again. What about the car number 11, who's making their way around the circuit? What about Antonio? 126.4104. For him. What about Jace? Then 127.561, his quickest time, and his previous time, in fact, was this one. And we'll see what is he going to be showing us. Mayer, he's currently car number 77, far away from that finish straight. So let's just get it going. The hanger straight into he's going to go. Super quick. Just look at that from 4 to 5. He's going to switch it up. Now a braking zone coming up into the left-hander as he switches to 3rd gear. Now just keeping the car steady and not really moving around, not doing many movements to keep us going. There's a car ahead of him. That must have been Nick, who's not been able to go any quicker as well. He's been struggling, but let's get going. Jaden the quickest. Elliot still in 2nd place, trying to get closer to Jaden's fastest time. What about Jeff Groff? Jeff, who's in 3rd place. Then it's Kyle in 4th place. It's Felipe in 5th place. Richard in 6th. Antonio in 7th. Then it's Fabian Sanchez in 8th. Gareth in 9th place. Nick Pedersen in 10th, completes the top 10. Then it's Gail Rolls in 11th. Xavier in 12th. Leo Shaji. Leo in 13th. Shaji in 14th. Then it's Robert in 15th. Jace Mayers in 16th place. But across that line, he's got a big chance of improving now. Across that line he comes. And yes, there is an improvement. Maybe not by position, but sure a little bit of a time, as he does put up his personal best of 127.072. What about any other drivers around that time now? What about Fabian? He's into the 126s, but only 8th fastest at this time. 126.886. Drivers doing the best laps they can with just 8 minutes remaining now in the session. Fabian currently 8th quickest. We can now see the liveries of these drivers as well, those who have an extra livery in that Trading Paints program running up for themselves. We've got them ready. What about Jace? He's got 127.72. Then Fabian 126.886. He's far away from that finish straight, so he's not going to be navigating around that. Meanwhile, Nick is currently 10th place with a time of 127.061, his quickest time. His previous lap was not that quickest. Of course, he must have had issues to navigate through. What about the Jeff is 24. He's currently 3rd quickest, Jeff, with his previous time being his best, 126.349. But will we see him improve and get even better? There is many other drivers around the circuit doing laps. But what about Jeff, though? Will we improve another one? He's already done 3 laps on these tires. Are we going to see him go into the pits or complete this finish, his flying lap? He sure will be going to be completing his lap and across that finish line. Does he do any better? He does not. He's a few tenths slower than his previous lap. Of course, he won't be pushing every single lap, but there is a chance of him doing so, because sometimes not all the drivers, but we're going to see. Now, anybody else? What about Elliot? 125.6. He's 2nd quickest, so that means Jaden has went even more faster. Let's have a look at that. We haven't gotten hold of him, but there you go. Jacob 120. Well, he's currently 17th, 127.017. The competition seems to be very, very big. Seems to be very, very competitive at this point in time. And Jaden, the man, 125.217. Look at that. The improvement made by Richard at one point. Sorry, by Elliot at one point. He was doing anything to get closer and get to the pole position, but that hasn't been enough. That hasn't quite been enough for him to challenge Jaden, who was quickest on his previous lap. What about this one, though? Does he improve this time around? Across that line he comes. Maybe he had invalidated his lap, so that was not going to be counting, but 125.217, the lap he's got, which could well be his fastest and his only lap. That is going to see him take pole position and quickest, fastest driver of the session so far. We'll see what he's going to be able to do and what he's able to show us and what we are there to see. Meanwhile, we see Robert Evans spin as we simply switch up to him, and he has a huge spin and returns to the pits as quickly as he can. Only 15th fastest at this point in time. And what about Elliot? It's Xavier it was. Let's get back to Elliot then. The man, the myth, the winner of VIR, the previous race, but obviously not every race is going to have a same winner, so he's got the competition to take on too, and he's got a lot more hard work to do than what he had to do on the previous race and the previous circuit there to go around. He seemed to be very quick, but this time around it's a new challenge and it's a new performance, but he could well be trying to improve. He could well be going very, very good, but will he be good enough? He went very wide, might have invalidated the lap. We can only know that when he's coming across that final corner, but we'll know what he's going to be able to do. And Elliot's in the wall. Elliot's put it in the wall. He was simply making his way through. Let's have a look at the replay there. Let's have a look at slow motion replay and go on board with Elliot there just behind his. So he was there, he was on an out lap, not only pushing, just lost it on the exit. No rear tires, and into the wall goes Elliot. And that then pretty much could have been qualifying over unless that much damage could be repaired in 5 or 4 minutes. But that wouldn't have been possible. And that then explains what exactly went wrong with Elliot. And simply, that's going to be it. But he's out. He's already out. Okay, so that's not how it works. We thought that maybe his damage might not be repairable, but in iRacing you can return to the pits and repair back on if you are able to get going one more time. And that's going to be Elliot himself. Now out back on the circuit. What about any other drivers? Jaden is improving lap after lap. He's got time to improve, but I think he's just doing his best at this moment and showing us what he can do. What about Antonio then? 125.980. Will he go into the wall as well? Yes, he will. And he's going to get it damaged as well. A crash that we get it. But he simply returns to the pits and straight away restarts. So without a repair needed, the driver's getting it started and started again. What about Gareth? Currently 9th quickest, and drivers making their way now around that final few corners. Some of them, it's going to be the number 10. Let's have a look at that. Who's number 10 in that number 10 car? It would have been Shaji, I believe. Yes, it is Shaji Zuhair in that number 10 car. And he did go quicker, actually. He did improve his time, though. Only season P14, but he has improved. 126.577. He has put a time that is very, very good. We don't see a special livery for him, but just making something through. Zuhair making his way and putting an improvement. Meanwhile, Jaden, the pole position driver, the driver who already was the quickest and was the fastest, had pole to his name, is improving even more, and he just keeps getting better and better lap after lap. He seems to be going faster and going quicker than he was the previous time. That's him now, improving even more and going into the 124s. 124.926, and just getting these drivers who are just, some of those drivers just trying to stay on the circuit, and it's Jaden on the other end. He's doing just massively quicker and quicker lap after lap. 124.926. No other driver in the 124s, I believe, as he just has a spin there, and that's going to be him having a spin and just trying to get a 360, but there's another spin almost, with just 2 minutes now remaining in the session. This is going to be a chance for Leo to improve across that line. Are we going to see him improve? 126.5455. No improvements. Antonio, 125.980 is going to be his time as well. Anyone now? 77 car number 77 are taking us through, and we're going to get it going. They're on brand new tires. Some of those drivers pitting, some of those not pitting out there. And there was Leo, of course, on those new tires. Oh, that was not Leo. That is a different driver we are having a look at. But we're just a minute and a half now remaining. Just about 2 minutes remaining. Gareth is going to do it all as well. Currently 9th quickest he is. He's got the time to do. He's got to improve. What about Garrett Rolls? Almost some of those drivers pitting, some of those on those same tires. And Elliott has pitted, has improved. But will he be improving across that line? 125.8. Slower than his previous time. And slower than his fastest time, I shall say. Not the previous one. With just a minute remaining in the session. Here's a rundown for you. Jaden ahead of everyone. Elliott in second place. Just about 7.5 tenths behind him. Jeff in third place. Kyle in fourth. Felipe Circus in 5th, Richard in 6th place, Antonio has improved nicely and into 7th place, Fabian Sanchez still stays in 8th, then it's Gareth in 9th, Nick Pedersen completing the top 10 with Gil Rolls in 11th place, Xavier in 12th, then it's Leo Dalmas in 13th, with Shaji Zuhair in 14th, then it's Robert in 15th, with Jace Mayer in 16th place, alongside Jacob in 17th, with Arturo, that should be in 18th place. Completing the 18 driver grid. Meanwhile, Jaden, quickest of them all. But let's have a look at this. We are on board. Let's try and find Jaden's car and get it on board with him. And these probably will be the final laps of the drivers coming around the grid, and it's going to be Richard across that line. Will he be improving? Jacob didn't improve, heads into the pits as the qualifying session has just ended now, with most of the drivers would automatically be then heading into the pits with their qualifying session over, most of them being in the pits. Jeff improves, and that then is going to be it for the qualifying session. Let's get the grid, which is going to be the final and first one. Jacob and Jaden in first place, Elliott in second, Jeff in third, with Kyle in fourth, Felipe in fifth, is Richard in sixth place, Antonio in seventh place, Fabian in eighth. It's going to be Gareth in ninth, then Nick Pedersen in 10th place, Rolls in 11th, Xavier in 12th, Leo in 13th, Shaji in 14th, Robert in 15th, Jace in 16th, Jacob in 17th. It's almost the same that we did previous, and it's Arturo in 18th place. That is then going to be it, and completion of the qualifying session. It's going to be Jaden, the man, ahead of everyone and quickest of nobody able to get closer to the man. Let's get it going. It's going to be, let's get a rundown actually around here as you get a better camera angle for this one. It's going to be, let's get it, actually go do it from the back of the grid. Arturo in 18th. We have a driver in 17th place, not gridded yet. Jason 16th. 17th is going to be Robert. 15th is going to be Robert. So there's a lot of the drivers not yet gridded. We did get the grid ready up. And let's get going now for an 8-lap sprint here at the Legacy State Edition Silverstone with the tech temperatures of 20.5, which is going to even get more and more as the rubber is out on track and the car's running up. Make it heating. Let's get going now. As we should be now having the drivers grid up and get ready for us to go racing here at Silverstone for the sprint race here at League Zero. Hope you all watching so far are enjoying it as the grid is now getting ready and the drivers for an 8-lap sprint are ready to go. And the drivers are ready, revving up as the lights are going to be going red from red to green. And it's going to be a great start for Elliott. What a start from Elliott there as he's going to jump into the lead. But very not good of a start for Jaden there as Jeff is going to go into the lead as well. Kyle then around the outside. So is Felipe there as well. A lot of the drivers just having their started. And what a start for Kyle that was. For Elliott that was as he jumped into the lead. Meanwhile, Fabian right behind Felipe there is going to try and defend from Richard there as well. But there's going to be somewhat times, and what a start by a lot of the drivers, and especially the man himself Elliott, the previous race's winner. Sure, he wasn't quick in qualifying, but he's done it this time in the race, and there's going to be a move done by the drivers ahead. That's going to be Fabian and Richard fighting each other out there. They're side by side, wheel to wheel action going on. Meanwhile, Sanchez and Richard fight it out, the drivers ahead of them. Kyle and Felipe giving their fight as well. Meanwhile, Nick Pedersen right behind those guys. They almost touched there. Did Fabian and Richard. Richard's going to try and defend it on the inside line. He's doing it all, but that's going to be an in-racing line for him. Meanwhile, that's going to be Peter Pedersen having to go around as well, as he's had to lose out, concede the place, but Sanchez might have to concede the place this time around, as he is now having it going as he goes very, very wide. Sanchez is going to run wide, and he's going to lose one place. Might lose more, as we are there with Fabian going around and Nick gaining on that position. Let's have a look at the rest of the grid with all these drivers out there just doing what they can. Xavier and Gil there just fighting each other as well. And there we go, having a look at actually Rolls and Mayer at this moment in time. These drivers fighting each other off. There might have been some drivers into the pits. Let's have a look at that. Yes, there are drivers in the pits. We are seeing many drivers in the pits. Do they have damage? Maybe. And yes, they have. There is Leo, there is Shaji, there's Gareth. Many drivers in the pits, which we weren't able to capture off. And let's go back to the leaders. Meanwhile, Jeff is leading ahead of everyone. Nobody closer to him. Nobody getting closer to him. Yes, there are drivers closer to him, but it's gonna be Jeff himself leading ahead of everyone. Nobody got closer. Nobody still yet to get closer. Sure, there is a driver. There is Jaden, the man who was quickest in the qualifying session. The far man who was fastest in the qualifying session. But will he be able to gain? Will he be able to overtake? Only time will tell, and only the time that we are looking at. Meanwhile, Jeff ahead of Jaden, ahead of Felipe, ahead of Kyle, ahead of Richard, Nick, Fabian, Antonio. So many drivers, and Elliott has been missing as well. He might be in the pits. Or has he completely retired out of the session? He hasn't. Currently runs in 11th place. Might have had to pit because he got a blistering start as well. Fantastic start he had. But now Jeff is putting quicker laps, faster laps he's putting up around. But Jaden's got a chance to improve and to attack him there. With these 3 laps to go, of course the top 5 gets inverted anyways. The rest of it stays how it is from the sprint race. So Jeff has got a chance. I think sure Jaden's got a good chance to try and start P4, not P5 if he finishes in 2nd place. But we will see what these drivers will be able to. Some of those drivers having repairs maybe in the pits, but I don't think they'll be able to repair and get back out on the circuit. Meanwhile, Jeff is going to switch to the inside line to try and defend and not allow him to overtake. But Jaden on the other end is going to be doing his all as well. He will be really giving him the pressure. Sure, right behind them is Felipe and Kyle and Richard inside that top 5, but they are staying away. They are staying far away from the rest of the top drivers, and this is going to be a big chance for Jaden now. Jaden has got a golden opportunity to overtake. Jeff is going to try everything to defend, but Jaden on the other end will be on his way to overtake and to really do what he's going to be doing, they would have wanted to do, and get back to the race lead, which he did not get into going into turn 1. He lost it at the race start, but this is his opportunity now. We are already 4 laps into the race. Could well be his opportunity, as they're just making their way now through Meggetts and Beckett's and into the hangar straight they go. This is his chance before Stowe Corner to overtake and get himself into the race lead. Jaden on his way to try and overtake and make the move, but will Jeff allow it? Jeff is going to do all the defendings he's got and not allow him. He's not going to do that. Not going to allow him. Meanwhile, the driver behind these 2 is going to be having the fastest lap. Well does Felipe, as he currently goes purple and the fastest of them all. But Jaden's right behind him with these 4 laps to go. Sure, for a few points. They're going to do everything to get them going and get them racing. This is very, very close. Less than a tenth now remaining between the two. Just about a few hundredths of a second, few thousandths of a second separating these two. And this is the battle that is heating up. So many other drivers around the circuit as well, but this is the opportunity. This is the time for Jaden to overtake and get back into the race lead. 3 tenths now the gap, but still within half a second and less than half a second. So this could well be a great opportunity. Drivers behind these two are in a very, very big, there goes wide, very wide goes Jaden, and that might be it. That might be his overtaking opportunity done. That might have not been an overtaking opportunity there, but sure, an option and chance for him to overtake, which might not be valid anymore with the drivers having getting done. Now the gap over more than half a second, but of course, sure, he can use that overtake though. He can use it. He can try and think for the best opportunity for an overtake and use it, but that green light was there, and that means that he's not using it at this moment in time in these Super Formula cars. Is he going to be trying? Let's have a look at the rest of the grid as well. Kyle, Richard, then they're right behind as well. There's so many drivers around. Meanwhile, Fabian currently in 7th place. These drivers are very closer to each other as well, but nobody as close as Fabian and Jaden to each other and really give each other the fight and the racing action which everybody has been looking for, and really give us the action. Meanwhile, Robert in 13th place, one of the last final cars running on the circuit. Xavier in 14th place as well. Meanwhile, we had a look at that pace car, but let's have one more look at the race leader, and I think this is very close. One more time, Jaden is going to try and look for it. Jaden's going to try and look for the opportunity. He's been trying to look for it. He's got the fastest lap. The previous lap, Jaden's got the fastest Actually, Jaden hasn't. Jeff has the fastest lap, but on the previous laps, Jaden was quicker, and there's going to be his opportunity. Down the inside line goes Jaden, and that's going to be a new race leader as he gets his race lead back. He started on pole, got lost out, haunted into turn 1, and he finally gets it this time around, and that's gonna be your new race leader here in the sprint race. Sure, he's gonna be starting P5 in the race, but I think he's got the speed and he's got the performance that it takes to get back into the race lead, just like Elliot did at VIR. And I think this is his chance to take around now with just 2 laps remaining after this one. We're on lap 6, and after this one it's going to be lap 7 and 8. It's going to be his opportunity, and he's pulling away already. He's massively pulling away. And let's have a look at the rest of the grid. Cockpit view going with Felipe. That's some nice racing going on. Let's have a look at that. He had the fastest lap for a little bit of time, and then somebody almost going into those bollards sitting on that circuit. But what a time. And Jaden's now got it. As soon as we see Jaden get into free air, he's going to get that fastest lap. And he's going to go quicker. He might have had that snatched again. Well, 127.776. Very, very fast for him. But let's have a look at that. Ooh, that is Robert then, as you were just having a look at him now going very wide. Trying to look at other drivers on the circuit. Some of those still in the pits. Meanwhile, Xavier, pretty much last of the running cars in 13th place. Arturo in 12th. Gal rolls into 11th. Fabian in 10th now, losing out on the positions. No driver has yet pitted, of course. Pretty much no pit stop in the sprint race. But for the main race, and it is Elliot, the man who's got the fastest lap, 125.767. He might well be on his way for a better performance. He took out the lead on that race start as well, but couldn't quite get it. I mean, 2 seconds to Antonio ahead, but somehow, if he's able to get closer and get inside that top 5, he can start on pole position the main race, but that's going to be very unlikely for it to happen. But as it stands, the race leader is going to switch up from lap 7 to 8 and get us going and take us one more time for the final time in this sprint race, with 7 laps being done and the 8th one on its way. Jaden sure didn't have the good race start at wheel spin and lost out on that race start, but then when he got going, he took it back again. He gave us the competition, he gave us the fight, and against Jeff he did it, but then he was going to be able to do it, and he really in the end did conquer it, unless he makes a mistake, which sometimes a commentator curse really ends up hitting us not the way the drivers want it, which I don't believe it in. If a driver makes a mistake, nothing a commentator could have really done about it, but some people do. But let's have a look at this. Let's go down the grid before we have Jaden making his way through. It's close between Richard and Kyle there, but Kyle still far away. Meanwhile, it's going to be now Jaden making his way through turn 13 into 14. The driver who could not dominate the sprint race dominated qualifying, but will be on his way to come across that finish line and win his sprint here at Silverstone round 2. And that's going to be him now, just making his way through the final corner, turn 17, and across that finish line. Jaden comes home to win the sprint with the fastest lap to himself. Then it was going to be Jaden finishing up on the grid. All of the other drivers finishing up as well. Many drivers with their sprint now ended. It's going to end up being there, but Jaden ahead of everyone. Jeff in second place. I can do the rundown for you. Felipe in third place, 3.2 seconds behind. Kyle in fourth, over 7 tenths behind Felipe. Then Richard in fifth place. Nick Pedersen, a good pickup for him from 10th place to 6th. Then Antonio finishing 7th, starting 7th. And it was Elliot in 8th place, started 2nd, but a bit massive downfall for him. Jacob in the end got P9, Fabian P10, Rolls P11, and it's Arturo in P12, with Xavier in P13 and Robert in P14. Then there are the drivers, but I believe they got out of this sprint race. So that then marks the end to the sprint, and the sprint is going to be over. Now we move on to the race where the top 5 will be inverted. It'll then be the fastest man out on the circuit, which was Jaden in the qualifying and in the sprint race as well. That's then going to be him not being very quick, so it'll be him. He was very quick, of course, not on that start, but the rest of it he was great and won it. So he's going to be starting P5 in that sprint, and it's going to be P4 for Jeff, and then Felipe should be P3, finish P3, starts P3. Then the other two inside that top 5 will be starting in that top 2. There's going to be a 5-minute warm-up for these drivers, but let's just, we'll take a little bit of a break and pick it up when we are into the race and get going for the race and for the main feature, 40-minute feature race, which is going to be having about 20 to 25 laps around here at Silverstone. And let's go. And there we go, everyone. We are ready for the grid. Grid is ready to go racing here at Silverstone for the final time. And for the feature race, 26 laps it's going to be. 26 laps of racing to get us going as we are waiting for the top to be there. Meanwhile, Richard starts in P3. And there we go. There's going to be 5 red lights and we go racing. This is a bit of an interesting view to see who's going to be there. Meanwhile, Richard was the one starting in that first place. Meanwhile, Kyle's going to lose out positions. As into one, we're going to see cars go and cars make positions. Cars lose out positions. Let's see who's going to be there. There's going to be so many drivers going wide. It's going to be Robert, Gareth, Leo then, as we're going to make our way through the circuit to see who makes a mistake and who doesn't, as we had so many lose out positions. Meanwhile, Rolls round down the outside, rolls around over 2 row to make a move, and make a position for himself. And that's going to be him overtaking. An overtake has been done by Rolls there as he's going to be making his way. He's got more opportunities fight to do. Meanwhile, Nick out there trying to fight Elliot. Elliot starting in 8th place, still stays in 8th place. Will be trying his best as to get started and get rear that the leaders as well. Meanwhile, Antonio in 6th place, again out in a position. What about Fabian? Started in top 10, he finished P10 in the sprint race, but then has picked up where he left in qualifying. A rapid start for him, currently runs P5. But looking at the rest of them, Jaden in P4, he's made out 1 position. Out there at the start is he in P4? We will see though, which I believe he should be in P4 as we are going to get it going, yes. So it's going to be Shaji into the pits. He's still in the pits. Not sure what exactly happened because I'm sure we kept it during the whole race, but maybe at the start something had happened, and Zabi are currently there, and Felipe leads it up front, leads it ahead of everyone. Nobody able to challenge so far. Felipe leads it up from ahead of everyone, and then it's going to be Richard in 2nd place. Car number 4 ahead of car number 43. Then it's 458 of Kyle. Jaden in 4th place. He indeed is in 4th place. It's going to be trying to go for a move. Trying to go and make his move there on the inside line. Will he be late on the brakes? Yes, he will be. But he'll be overtaking before they could even need to brake. Going into Stowe corner. And that's going to be an overtake done by Jaden. Already in 3rd place. And his chance and his time to fight for that race lead. He will be on for it already as he's into 3rd place, and now it's going to be his time to go after Richard. Meanwhile, the fight behind between Fabian and a driver that's Antonio is going to be giving us a little bit of an interesting thing as well. There's a driver going very slow at the back of the grid, but let's have a look at the ones who are at the front of the grid. Meanwhile, Fabian and Antonio fight each other off for that 5th place. Fabian wants to keep it, but Antonio doesn't want to let him keep it. This is going to be a chance. We're only on lap 2, of course. There is going to be mandatory pit stops depending on when it's the time and it's the best for these drivers to pit on. They will be pitting and they will be giving us the time. Meanwhile, some getting the fastest laps. It's Richard, 126.9, going very, very quick. Meanwhile, Antonio goes very, very wide there as he comes back out on the circuit, but he went very wide, and I think that's going to be him maybe getting a little bit of a penalty for that as well, if not more, just an off-track warning, but that could have been worse. Meanwhile, Richard getting a very, very good lap, faster lap there than did Jaden, though very close, just within a few thousandth of a second. But on lap 3 out of 26, Jaden's after that 2nd place driver to try and get himself into the 1st place and take that lead and do what Elliot did at VIR. Elliot qualified in pole position, won the sprint race, started P5, then ended up getting back into the top, at the top into the feature race. But will be his chance, will be the chance for him to get it going. Will Jaden be able to do it? Only time will tell. Meanwhile, Felipe on his way ahead of everyone. Seems to be leading ahead of everyone. Not really. Nobody getting closer to him, though. We're having a look at the drivers now. Jeff, through the cockpit view of Jeff, we go through Antonio as well, just he's going through, and now currently in 6th place. Will be trying to give us the fight. Fabian, he's been trying to overtake Fabian. He hasn't been quite able to do that. Meanwhile, he goes very, very one more time. He went wide around this pretty much similar corner earlier as well, and he does it one more time. And I think he's going to have to fight. Meanwhile, this fight is nice as well because Fabian now having to defend again, despite Antonio making mistakes. He recovers well and gets back to the fight for that position. Meanwhile, the fight between the leader now, Jaden, has got the fastest lap, 126.282, and the gap now remains over half a second, but still will be a chance. Meanwhile, Richard is improving to overtake and get himself into that race lead. The top 3 fight each other, and the top 3 fighting each other off. Could well be a chance. Meanwhile, Elliot now in top P8, still running in P8. but still closer to the guys, closer to the top 5. Meanwhile, Jeff is going to be on his way to try and overtake, but will he be overtaking? This is going to be his opportunity as well. Remember, he finished in 2nd place in the sprint. That means he started at P4, then he's only came down the grid instead of going up the grid. Currently runs in 7th place. Elliott could be on his way to try and overtake and try and attack the driver, but not what they all will be doing at this point in time. Lap 4 out of 26 could well be his chance as he heads into the pits. Elliott heads into the pits right away, and only on lap 3 into lap 4 we go. But has he got any damage? Let's see what repairs will he be getting. Let's see him drive into the pits and show us maybe he's gonna get what repairs he's gonna get. There's already a car charge. He might be out, and his car is held up in the air. There's many drivers coming in. What's going on? Because there's quite a few drivers coming into the pits now. Meanwhile, Felipe still leads the race. The great helicopter view we are seeing. And but we'll see what exactly could be wrong, because Elliott then comes into the pits only at the end of lap 3, then going into lap 4, only 3 laps on a tyre. This, I'm sure the tyre could do a lot. They did even more laps in the qualifying session than that. But meanwhile, the man who says he's about to take the position of Richard could well be Jaden. He's showing the pace. He's fallen behind, but he's came back again. He's got woken up, and he still runs in 3rd place. He has been running for a while now, but not anymore. On the inside line, he's got it, as he's going to push Richard a little bit wide, but Richard's going to come back at him. They're still side by side, wheel-to-wheel action going on between the two, and it's going to be Jaden now, maybe for a switchback. He goes a little bit wide. Those two going very worried. Interestingly, meanwhile, is he going to be able to defend Will Richard? Into turn 1 they go. On the inside line, one more time. They almost made contact, but Richard's going to run very, very wide, and Jaden's going to take the position, and he takes 2nd place to himself. He had the fastest lap few laps ago, and he's done it this time around, and he shows Richard that he's the quickest one. Does it, and he does it in style, but could well be a chance for Richard as well. That doesn't always mean if Jaden's taking the position he's going to keep it. Sure, in that sprint race, in the free air, he did some very good job, but that doesn't always mean that he's going to be able to do it. That doesn't always mean that he's always going to be there to do it. And what a chance for Felipe and Jaden that's going to be as well. And what a performance. Meanwhile, there is a driver that is none other than the man himself, the car number 53, Bremley, having a spin, maybe going wide. There is on an outlap, so that's staying. So many drivers have pitted, and maybe damages to pay for all these drivers. It's going to be Jacob now, and all of these drivers on their outlaps. Elliott now pitting and has done a lap already on those tires as well. Meanwhile, Arturo ahead of Leo there. This fight could well be shaping up nicely as well. The gap over just about 2/10 now between the two could well be on. We have been looking at the fight between the leaders, but let's have a look at something that we haven't seen so far in this race. The rest of the drivers, the rest of the grid to get us going. No overtake yet. No overtake. No style or no threat yet from him or from anybody behind, running around these drivers. Meanwhile, getting to the top, Fabian is losing a place once again. He loses out to Antonio. The move had been coming race long, and that happens to be losing out now, as we see our race leader has lost. Okay, so he hasn't lost out. Actually, I thought Jaden had taken the lead, but he hasn't taken the lead yet. He could be on his way, though, because it's only taken him about 5 to 6 laps to get from P5 to P2. But how many laps will it take for him to go from P2 to P1? Hope you all watching so far have enjoyed the broadcast so far, of course. Well, this is only on Zabi On.mic, on your commentary mics, and we are live here for the broadcast of League Zero, powered by none other than Inca Salsa. You need homemade salsa, you need anything, you go there and you'll get it. And shout out to all the other sponsors as well, showing up on your screens, who make everything possible. And we are on our way to get us going. Meanwhile, Jaden now gets a faster lap, and he goes even more quicker, and about over 4/10 quicker almost than did. No, not 4/10, even more. That's almost 8/10 quicker than Felipe, whose time is 1:26.6, and Jaden's time is 1:25.8, of course 9.7, but almost 1:25.9. Only 8 laps in, and we are seeing great battles between the drivers, great racing between the drivers, and our way and our performance that they are able to show. They are really able to get us going and give us the action and the performance to show us what they are best and what they are based at. Meanwhile, Jacob in 14th place. And that seems to be Leo from the livery, as he's pitted as well. Only about 7-8 laps as well. Meanwhile, Jeff only 5 laps on those tires, and he's into the pits as well. Maybe what they want to do is pit early and try and undercut on the drivers who are going to pit later on. Jeff currently running in 12th place, Elliot 11th, or maybe they had damage, so they just had to then do nothing but pit. And then it's Jace going through those bollards. Maybe they're not effective around. It's Robert now. This is going to be the fight we would have been looking for. Gareth going to go around the outside of Arturo, and that's going to be the inside, but the outside. They are going to make the move, and that's going to be done now. And Arturo is going to lose out on another position. Might be on his way to lose out to Robert there. Let's have a look at that. Will Robert be able to show us something? Yes, he will be on the inside line. Will he be late on the brakes, or will it be Arturo? And that is going to be Robert. Arturo might try and come back at him. Will he be doing that though? But not quite enough. I think definitely the fight that we have been wanting. We have been seeing some moves being made, but not all of them. And Antonio doing a fantastic job running in P4. Sure, some of those drivers at the top have pitted maybe, but let's have a look at that. Nobody, of course, inside that top 5 has pitted yet, and Jaden has taken that lead. Jaden has taken that lead. We were looking, and we were fighting, and seeing some other drivers making moves at the other part of the circuit. Jaden has done it one more time, going even more quicker now with the fastest time of 1:25.743, his fastest lap. Which nobody, unless of a unorthodox or pretty much an unexpected performance, nobody with their current pace is going to be able to get closer to Jaden. What is going to be chance though? We're 10 laps into the race now. Some of the top drivers like Elliot and Jeff have pitted earlier on. Only Elliot, of course, only after 3 laps, and Jeff after 5 laps on those first tires. And it's going to be his chance for Jaden to show us what he's going to be able to do, what he's going to be doing though. Will he be pitting? Not yet. The gap 2.2 seconds. Let's have a look at all the other drivers now around the circuit, with, of course, Jaden pulling away a big gap. Elliot in 11th place, 1:25.778. Doing a very good job. He seems to be very quick as well in terms of pace, but he's done now on those tires. How good he's going to be able to. Felipe has then pitted as well. He was running in the top, and oh yeah, so that could have been the case. Sure, because Felipe was the one in the lead, and only doing after 8 laps on those tires, he has pitted as well. Arturo on 9 lap on those tires, not yet pitted. Jace Mayer ahead of him on 9 lap on those tires as well. Robert as well. Gareth just out there, not pitted yet as well. And we are back into the top 3 of the race one more time to show us the race. But the race seems to be on nobody closer, really. Yeah, there are drivers closer, but they're just not closer enough to give us an action, except for this little fight between the two, with the gap is just over, just a little bit less than 1 second. Still quite a lot, though, with between these two, giving us a fight. Mayer and it's going to be Arturo, but will they be giving us a fight? It's going to be interesting to see because these two, pretty much the only ones running on the circuit, currently within 1 second, with the gap is now getting even more than 1 second. But let's see though, because there are some other drivers out on the circuit. Let's actually go for it to get us going. And I think it's going to be these, a little bit of a fight between around the circuit. Of course, it's going to be then Robert and now Gareth closer to each other as well. What about recovery from Robert so far? We see him have a few spins earlier on, but as it stands here in the feature race, he currently finds himself in P7 and on the way to attack Robert, and get it. Sorry, to attack Gareth. Robert is on the attack to attack Gareth and overtake and get us in to get himself into 6th place on this race so far, which will be a great result for Robert, of course, as he's on his way as he heads into the pits now. Early pit stops, and now a pit stop from from Robert as well. The race leader, Jaden Cole, yet to pit. Yet to be heading into the pits and change a set of tires. Maybe some of those with a little bit of a damage, a little bit of a repair time that they had to get were going to be there. But nobody from the top 3. Sure, Felipe pitted, of course, but anybody running inside the top 4 right now as it stands haven't yet pitted in the race. I think we'll only see for these drivers in moments to come, in moments to go, to be pitting out there. We're only on lap 12 out of 26, still about 14 laps to go. 13 after this one, and that's going to be getting us definitely the track temperature, which was 19.5, if I remember it correctly, beginning for that sprint race, has increased with these drivers heating up the track and really running up cars on it, with Jacob running in 14th place, the final of the running cars. Meanwhile, Leo is going to be on the attack to Robert, who's on an outlap, who's just pitted right now and on the inside line. Leo could have been on the attack and try and attack him, who's done 4 laps on his tires, and Robert, and that's going to be a big problem. That's going to be, and it's a huge crash. That is going to be a big crash as Robert's going to head into the wall. He was doing some great pace he was showing as he's going to head his car into the wall, and that is going to be him getting up in the wall. And I wonder if there's going to be a safety car or anything like that. The pace car coming out back out on the circuit, shown up by race control, but as it stands, we are still under the green flag racing, and what a performance by him. The safety car, I shall say, still stays in the pits, not out yet. And Robert, after doing such a great drive, he just ends up putting it in the wall, and big problems for him. You know, on the out lap, sure, he had a driver behind him. Leo was fighting him around, but then obviously maybe a little bit of a tap from Leo, or Robert could have had a bit of a damage from earlier on. But he was driving fantastically before that pit stop, doing a very good job, but just that one mistake, and it's all over for him. A little bit of a focus lost. And then that really marks the end to the race of yours, which simply doesn't quite do good at all. Meanwhile, Richard in second place at this moment in time, yet to pit as well. So is Antonio in 3rd place. He's doing a very good job. 13 laps on these tires out of the 14 that have been done so far. 14 haven't been done, 13 have been done, and 14th is what we are going into so far, actually. But let's get it going. To see drivers really closer to each other. Any drivers at the moment closer to each other are no drivers actually as close to each other are as much as Leo and Robert were after Robert's pit stop, and before that Gareth and Robert were very closer to each other as well, but not quite close racing so far. But of course, everybody now pitting in, everybody heading into the pits, and really should be on their way to give us action. Meanwhile, Elliot has put a very good lap. He's put a fastest lap, and he be on his way to the attack to that race lead? It'll still be doubtful though, with considering how much time remaining in this race is, with 12 laps to go. He'll have to drive rapidly to get closer to those guys. But of course, remember that some of those drivers, in fact, most of those drivers inside that top 5 are yet to pit. With his time of 125.477, he could well be having a big chance. Meanwhile, having a look at Jaden, he goes past the pit entry and that main straight one more time, and without pitting, without making a pit stop, without looking near that time of pitting, and he's not yet going to try and pit. Meanwhile, we have a battle which is closer to each other as Felipe is going to be in whole pressure with his tires. Only 5 laps though, a little bit newer than Elliot's tires, but Elliot's got a quicker lap. Elliot's got a faster lap. Meanwhile, there is a driver coming out of the pits after they've just pitted, but Elliot now bringing the gap down to just over 1 second. He's going to bring it down and get it even less than 1 second. He was quicker than Felipe on the previous lap, but he did go wide. He did go very wide. And are we going to see him getting improvement, giving us an improvement, making an improvement, which is going to see him get closer? He's going to try and recharge the overtake, recharge the energy, and just get it going when it's needed for that overtake to be made, as the gap now comes down to 0.8. We are on to lap 15 out of 26. Let's get to the race leaders now, who should have pitted yet by now, and they haven't pitted. Remember the mandatory pit stop, which is going to be a very interesting to see. Where does Jaden end up coming out on the circuit after he decides to pit? Felipe in P4 has pitted, but he's over 32 seconds behind Fabian, who's 12 seconds behind. Meanwhile, it's going to be Jaden now overtaking and lapping the driver ahead. It was car number 53 getting lapped around and losing out on the position. Lap 16 out of 26, and Arturo just has pitted now. He hadn't pitted as well, just trying to look out for the drivers any closer to each other for a little bit of a fight to see us have out on the circuit, but not yet. And what about Elliot, who was having a very good fight earlier on? And yes, he is. The gap now stands just half a second, more less than half a second now, almost just about half a second. With 10 laps to go, his chances are to at least get himself into the top 4, if not more. But those inside that top 3 I shall say, haven't yet pitted, and as soon as they pit, that is going to be a chance to see where one another comes out. And the leader has now pitted. The race leader, Jaden, has pitted. Where will he be coming out? Will Richard overtake him? Yes, he will. Oh, that's going to be his pit stop. That's going to be his pit stop. But let's have a look at that now. Some of the drivers making their way around the circuit, and it's going to be Jaden coming out back on the circuit. Elliot not quite able to make a move there, but he goes very wide. So does Felipe. Both of them follow each other to go wide, and now going to be on their way for an overtake. Lap 17 out of 26, the final laps that are going to give us the action and give us the racing remaining, with 9 laps now remain in this race, and I think it's his opportunity. He's got the fastest lap actually so far, but well on the inside line, could have been his chance. Lap 17 out of 26, as we've said that. Let's get it going, let's go racing, let's get us to the action. Some of the cars still not able to load in that trading paint for some reason. Apologies if the liveries are not loaded for your car, if any of these drivers' car. But Elliot now on his way to overtake, but I think he's going to be taking it. Jaden is going to still keep that fastest lap, I believe, because he's going to be bidding out for a brand new set of tires. He has bidded out for a brand new set of tires, and which is going to be a lot easier and a lot more safer for him to push than Elliot's tire would be at this point in time. We can see he's already struggling, having done 12 laps on these tires, going wide, running wide on the circuit, and really, this time around, just keeps it there, and this could well be his chance when they are there onto the hanger straight, but even do they get before that, and this is going to be his chance into going into turn 1 on the inside line. He leaves out big space, does Felipe, as he runs very wide, and now Elliot's going to be taking that move round the outside, is going to be turning to the inside line, and that's going to be Elliot moving into the top 3 and takes the position and gets himself into 3rd place. And what an overtake that was. They were running wheel to wheel, and he gets it going. He gets the position. And what about Jaden then, who's just pitted, and he's in 2nd place. Okay, he's in 2nd place, but Fabian, currently in 17th place, has not yet pitted. The gap behind is over 14 seconds, which is going to be taking a lot more than that inside that pit stop. So, almost the only driver who hasn't pitted is going to be Fabian in this race. Meanwhile, every single driver has pitted and is on their way to do a very good job. Meanwhile, Antonio and Richard are going to be giving us their fight as we are going to have a look at these two. Getting us going. Elliot now takes 3rd place. He could be trying to get him going into the 4th place, but let's have a look at that. The fight that we were trying to look was between Elliot and not Elliot, that was some other driver, but at this moment in time, yes, it was Richard and Antonio. Richard in 6th place. He's got to do 2 lap newer tires than Antonio has. Will he be able to do something better? Will he be able to do something good? That's going to get him going and improving and getting closer to that top 5. This is his chance, and his chance to push to the end of the race to get him going and get him into top 5 of this race. Lap 19 out of 26. We are now rapidly getting closer to the end of this race, and Fabian still yet to pit, has done over 18 laps on these tires, continues on. He's losing out time on Jaden. Sure, Jaden's got his 2nd place covered, but probably Fabian's got his 2nd place covered as well, but depends where he comes out. I doubt he's going to come out in 2nd place with the gap 12 seconds and only a few seconds behind, and he's going to come into the pits. Finally, Fabian's going to come into the pits. Jaden's going to take that lead, and Elliot's chances and his time of over 14 laps on these tires, it is going to be him having to do it this time one more time, and he's going to be on his way to do it. And he will be on his way to do it, as he's currently in 3rd place and does a quicker time. Even with a lap with the tires of over 15 laps, he's putting up faster laps, quicker laps, and that's going to be him putting up another fastest lap. Maybe trying to do and show everyone that he still is the quickest tire driver in terms of pace and in terms of race as well. Meanwhile, Jaden, the gap only 4.5 seconds. Will he be able to take that? Because surely the difference is only about a few tenths, but if Elliot's able to do a very good job, he might be on his way to try and attack and overtake Jaden for that race lead. The gap is 4.6 seconds, but Elliot's got the fastest lap. He's got the old tires, Jaden's got new, but who's going to be better at ending this race with these remaining 6 laps to themselves? To be fair, Jaden seems to be clear and to him having the title to himself, but you never know. We never know who's going to be able to do a better job than one another. Lap 21 out of 26, just 5 laps remaining now to the end of this race after this one, but still going to be the action. 4.7 seconds, the gap still stays where it is, Let's go. This is going to be a nice little fight as well on the circuit. Not much close racing, but this could well be one of the closest out on the circuit at this point in time, as Arturo is on his way to try and defend the 12th place. Pretty much the last few of the last of the running cars running 12s out, 12 cars running out of the circuit at this moment in time, and it's Arturo in P11. Does a faster lap, does a quicker lap than Jace might have wanted for Arturo to do, and that's going to be Jace and Arturo fighting each other. Meanwhile, actually he's running away. It's not Arturo, it's not Jake and Arturo, Jace and Arturo, it is Leo and Arturo. Leo, the other driver, Leo was fighting a few moments ago. Robert ended up being in the wall, but will Arturo be a little bit different? Will he be able to cope up with the pressure from the driver behind and get himself up at the top and see himself being the top driver? Not getting closer, getting to the top once again. Elliott puts fast laps after laps, quick laps after laps. And sure, his previous lap, he might have lost a lot of time, and that explains the gap now. Getting back just under 5 seconds, but just 4.5 seconds. I think that the gap is a lot, unless there is a huge mistake done by Jaden. It's very unlikely that Elliott would get closer. Still, second place would be a great opportunity and a great performance by him, considering how it was and how the race started for him. Sure, he qualified second, but made some good recoveries in the end, but sprint race was not too good as well. That then wasn't the best for him. But this man could well be on his way to do the best of the performances. Sure, it's going to be only for 11th place, but he could well be giving us some action and an overtake to see before the end of the race. With the time running out, with the racing about to be coming to an end, could well be Leo's best opportunity to overtake, with the gap just about half a second now. Lap 22, which is going to become 23 next time around, and the time's going to run out lap after lap now, with the drivers coming to the end of the race. Every corner they make, every turn, every mile they're going forward on the circuit is going to run them out of the time, with the 5 minutes of time remaining, 4 laps of racing remaining to the end, and not yet able to do is Jace. Let's have a look at the other grid as well, which I doubt anybody's closer. Sure, Jeff is a little bit closer to Kyle up ahead, but the gap's still over 1.2 seconds and not yet any closer. Antonio running in 4th place, doing a fantastic job at this time. And Elliott, the gap is okay, the gap is not actually a lot. That's 2.6 seconds is of Felipe to Elliott, not Elliott to Jaden, who seems to be clear and not letting anybody get closer at all, and not at all, no closer, no racing. Of course racing, but not any action going on at the circuit at this moment in time. Sure, there are a lot of drivers closer to each other, but no more overtaking has been done so far in this race. It has been decent enough, but we will see. There were many incidents in that sprint race, and a few of them around this one as well. The prime example of Robert's incident where he crashed and went into the wall. And this could well be a chance for Leo to overtake. And this could well be his chance to get into 11th place. And he will be trying his best, giving it his best. This is the closest he's been to Arturo so far in this race and in this battle that's been going on after the pit stops. Leo's got a few laps, older tires, but will that be the matter? Will that be the matter, though? Because that wasn't the matter when Elliott did a faster lap, as he's going to be on the exit now, on the inside line. He's going to be already on his way to make the move. Oh, he goes wide. He makes a mistake. He really has a little bit of a mistake and then oversteer. A little bit of an oversteer, and that's going to allow Arturo to snatch back 11th place and get himself back into it. He lost it, but gains it back again from a mistake done by Leo, and that's going to be Leo losing out on 11th place. And one more time he's got a chance to do, but will he be able to do it? Because he lost out one time, but will he be able to do it one more time to overtake? And before we are to the end, because now only 2 laps after this one remain, and that is then going to be marking the end of this race. So probably that could have been the one and only opportunity to overtake now for Leo, but will that be enough? Will any other opportunities coming his way, coming for him to overtake? Arturo's going to try and everything to defend and to show us the best that he could have done, the best that anybody around could do, but not quite be doing that. 3.8 seconds, the gap's coming down. Sure, Elliott showing speeds and signs of his performance and that he was going to be better than Jaden, but just that qualifying pole position and then sprint race, he went far behind. That didn't help as well, but let's have a look at that. Leo now getting closer to Arturo. He lost out one time. He lost out one time on Arturo there, but will he be losing out one more time? He doesn't want that. I'm sure he wouldn't want that with not a lot of these drivers now getting closer to the end of this race. This is one of the closest battles out on the circuit at this point in time. Leo now just 4 tenths, and he's going to head in the pits. That is an interesting thing to pit. He might be retiring at this point in time, thinking that only 12, he's in 12th place and no other cars around are running, so there's no chance, or I shall say, no sense in running for a few more laps. Probably he's tired or he's got some more damage that we don't know about, which might have been the problem, which might have been the reason of him losing out. And I think Elliott now seems to be finishing in 2nd place and the fastest. Jaden's doing the times even on newer tires. Obviously not newer as 8-lap olds, but newer than Elliott's tires. Still doing slower times, but that was only for me to say that, as he's gonna do even better than Elliott's time. 124.9, well, Elliott's fastest, 124.271. He might have just been saving the tires, or just backing out a little for us to think that Jaden didn't have the speed, but in the end he really takes out the fastest lap and shows everyone that he was the quickest. And no matter what had happened in this race, he could have been there at the top, even if Elliott had been more closer for him to overtake. But we will see. So now this is going to be amazing in that for that Drivers' Championship as well. Previous one was won by Elliott. This one is going to be won by none other than Jaden Cole. He's just making his way through turn 11, now into 12 and 13, and the final few corners for him to be taking the race lead on. And that's going to be now coming up for Jaden, as he's going to make his way now to turn 15, from turn 15 to 16. And he's just got the last 2 corners of 16 and 17 to go. The final corner he's going to navigate through. Jaden has dominated the feature race to come home in 1st place from P5 to P1. He's going to do it this time. And it's going to be Elliott in finishing in 2nd place. Ahead of him, 4.3 seconds behind. Felipe in 3rd place. Antonio in 4th place. A great race for him. Richard in 5th. Kyle in 6th place. Jeff Grove in 7th place. Fabian Sanchez in 8th place. Gareth in 9th place. And Jace Mayer in 10th. And then it's going to be Arturo in 11th place. Leo in 12th place. Then it was Jacob, Robert, who crashed out. Rolls, Xavier, Nick. Did have had a very good sprint race, but then pretty much fell out in the feature race. So did Zohair as well. Those guys retired out of this race, and some great racing going on with the race now being over. Hope you all watching enjoyed it. This was League Zero, powered by Inca Salsa, presented by Zabi on your commentary mics. Hope you all watching enjoyed it. And we are only getting started now. Round 1 was VIR, and round 2, it is Silverstone, the Legacy Edition. And this was somewhat of a very, very good race as well. It's Zabi here, and I'm out. Catch you next time around.